All right. There we go. Hey guys, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Let's see that I've got my audio going right. Okay. Hey folks. Okay, that looks good. Can you hear me okay? Good. Cool. So, right on. So I'm back. I'm in my backyard. I'm working on this new area in my backyard because I pulled out the high tunnel. So I've made this little kind of shaded area where I can hang out and do these live streams. And I'm going to put a hammock back here too because I get really killer shade from the west and the south. So it's like southwest shade. It's perfect. So I'm going to be doing more hanging out back here. And I'm going to go through. So, yeah. So welcome to this live session. And just as a sort of reiterating what I said last time, what I'm doing with these is I record my From the Field Q&A podcast every Thursday. And so I figured, why don't I just make it into a live session? Then I kind of stack functions. And then whenever there's time, I have time for Q&A with you guys. And we have lots of time for that today because I don't have any From the Field questions today, at least none that were things that I didn't address before, or how can I say it, that were easy enough just to answer and didn't really merit a part of the podcast. And so what normally happens each week is members of my website send me questions and I put them into a podcast. And so that's kind of what this is going to be. And what I'm going to do from now on is I'm kind of structuring how people send me these questions. Now I'm going to have people send me them to, and I think I can share my screen here. I'm going to have them send them to the forum, and then I will be able to, so I'm going to make a post each week that's like, here, questions for Curtis, August 1st. So this one's for next week. And then people are going to post in that, and then I'm just going to go through them all. So they're all in one place, and then it's easier. And it also has, makes it so people can engage afterwards. You'll see I've got J.M. Fortier coming on Thursday, August 22nd. So I'll be doing a YouTube live with him. And then we'll be answering questions from the field people, and then just leaving it open for YouTube stuff. So yeah, I wanted to make a couple announcements before we kind of roll into stuff. Yeah, so I'm doing that new way of collecting questions from the field members. So if you're a member, you just post in the post that I make. And then we'll go through those in these sessions. And then, yeah, I'm going to be at JM's farm August 19th. So that'll be same time here, but I'll be on the East Coast. So it'll be 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Pacific. And there's going to be no live session August 8th, but I will do a pre-recorded podcast as I normally do. And yeah, I've got some cool farmers to visit. I've got I visited so many great ones. I don't know if I mentioned last time I did this big Midwestern tour, and I'm still streaming out that content. I've been batching content this whole year. I've been trying to find a way to do more with less, so I have more time for family. And since I'm out of the YouTube rat race of trying to keep up with the algorithm by just posting constantly, because 99% of my content efforts now go into From the Field, as well as some other endeavors that I'm working on, new book and stuff like that. I can just batch things. So, when I was, for the number of years I was posting on here on YouTube all the time, I was just having to make videos constantly, like basically for a week. So I'd have to shoot and edit those constantly. So it's constant work. But what the membership site has allowed me to do, which I actually think also lends itself to better content as well, is I can batch things. So I can go on trips, and then I can go on like a 1 week trip and then make, 7 weeks of content in that 1 week. And then I just have it all recorded, and then I just edit each week as it comes out. So that's been kind of fun. It's really allowed me to have a more balanced quality of life and way less grinding. But I've got some really cool content coming up from the field, and some of it will end up on YouTube, at least in shorter forms. This week, like this Friday, I've got a video coming out that will be. It's with a guy named Vaden Summers who runs who's part of a program called Hall Services in Calgary, Alberta, and it's sort of it's a program for at-risk youth. And so it's the first time I'll actually be posting an entire long form video on YouTube that's the same as from the field. And I felt compelled to do that just because I wanted to get the message out about what they do, because it's really cool. And I'm a real free market guy. This program is totally free market. It's funded by individuals and businesses in Calgary. They might get some government funding. I mean, who doesn't really, if you're doing that kind of thing? But their majority, like vast majority, is private funding. And so I thought that was really cool that, a program that's helping at-risk youth can be privately funded. I thought that was pretty awesome and inspiring. So that's coming out this Friday. And then I have got some other great stuff. JM Fortier, going to do a long video with him. I've got Stefan Subkowiak coming on. I've got, I'm visiting, maybe some of you are familiar with a guy named Michael Abelman. He's probably, hey, I see the super chats there, and I'll get to those, I promise. He's probably what I would have been if I would have got into urban farming 30 years ago. He was one of the first urban farmers in Los Angeles area, and he also started the Soul Food Farm in Vancouver. So I'm going to be interviewing him at Foxglove Farm, which is his new farm in Salt Spring Island. So I'm super, super stoked for that. And then I'm going to be visiting Carl Hammer from Vermont Compost. That kind of came up from you guys, from the field members. Were saying, hey, you got to make some videos about compost. And so I was like, yeah, totally. Tell me where to go. So I'm driving down to Vermont while I'm in Quebec and going to go visit Carl Hammer and check out that whole operation. Super. I mean, those guys are top notch. One of the best compost operations in the US. They're selling the product all over the country. So that's going to be cool. And then I've got, I'm visiting a really cool operation, a little bit outside of what I normally do, but I'm visiting an operation called Oneka. And they make like soap. They make hair products and stuff like that. But it's really cool because all the ingredients of their products come from a forest that they own. So they own this big piece of land, and they forage all of the ingredients for their products. And so I'm going to be talking to Philippe, who I've actually known for a few years, about this operation. I think it's amazing. My wife loves their products. Like, we get them here in Kelowna. So this stuff is from where is it? Frélisburg, Quebec. And we get these products here. So they're doing quite well. So I'm going to be interviewing him. And then I've got some seed saving content coming out with John Alcock from Sunshine Farms here in Kelowna, 30-year organic farmer. And I'm going to be doing some seed saving videos with him. So that's all kind of stuff to look forward to. And there's much more to come. I'm pretty much booked every week up until the new year of farmers that I'm visiting. So it's been quite a ride and a lot of fun. So there's lots of good things to come. Before I jump into this stuff, I'll prioritize super chats and then I'll just go whatever I have time for. I just wanted to talk about the growing season a little bit. I know many of you guys are farming or gardening or homesteading or whatever. And I'm curious what your weather has been like this year, but it has been amazing here. We've had the wettest summer I've ever had, and wet not in a bad way. Wet as in we get these little periods of rain. It's almost like maritime weather, like New Zealand weather or Hawaiian weather, where you get little periods of rain, then it gets sunny, and it has been unbelievable. Like I've barely had to irrigate my garden this summer at all, and I'm really stoked because I kind of doubt we'll have fires this year just based on the amount of rain we've had. So it's been really nice. And one thing I just had in my notes to mention, I was over at Wise Earth Farm today, and maybe I'll do another video with John or Brenda at Wise Earth soon, but kind of came to this realization, and I'd been talking to a few other growers about this over the years with Anova lettuce. And one thing they were telling me on the farm is they're finding that the first cut is always great. And the second cut is okay if you give it enough time to regenerate. But what they're finding is you have to do another weed cultivation on that to get that second cut successfully. You got to go in and do another weed cultivation. And they're kind of at the point where if you really look at the numbers, it might actually not be worth it to get that second cut. You might be better off just, especially if you have a paper pot transplanter, just getting another crop in and getting a clean cut and then saving yourself the cultivation time. It's these little things that are interesting. And the more I talk to farmers about these kinds of things, the more, apparent these little efficiencies you can tweak become, where it's like, well, why bother planting a second crop of Anova? So I thought that was interesting, having that conversation with John, and maybe I'll make a video about that in the near future. But okay, so we're like 14 minutes in already. Okay, time blows by. I'm going to just blast some questions here. Jepco Zenith, thanks for the super chat there, brother. Hey Curtis, when will the bottom paper pot co or bottom trays be available again? Soon. Definitely. When are they going to be? I was talking to Diego. We've just been dealing with others. Like I've been dealing with a bunch of new products that we're going to be releasing that I'm making here in Kelowna. So that's been kind of the front of my attention as of late, but they will be available again soon. I would say probably by the fourth quarter of this year at least. And for sure we'll have tons by the first quarter of 2020. So I could say that for now. I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, but I think you can at least count on getting these by the fourth quarter. So going into October this year, we should have a lot more of those. Thanks for your super chat there. Little super chat from Kroganator's top movie clips. Thanks, man. And then let's look at what other kind of questions you guys got here. Hey from Kansas. Hey guys. What's the best remedy to keep cucumber beetles off your cucumbers? Growing them in a greenhouse and then having netting ventilation. And just growing in isolation, basically. That's the best way I've seen. I can't recommend any sprays or anything like that. Never really been into that stuff. I don't really know too much about it. Cannabis in the background. Yes, sir. It is legal here. So, yep. Stephanie asks, hey, Curtis, you still working with Jean Martin? Absolutely. I'm going to be seeing him, like I said, in August. And yeah, I mean, JM and I don't technically work together. We're just friends. We talk on the phone a lot. We shoot the breeze. Will we be doing a workshop together? Nothing's planned. I'm taking a break from workshops. I'm at a point now in my life where if I want to add anything, I have to subtract things because I've got so much going on, particularly with my family. So I'm trying to just keep that balance. So there's no plans to do any workshops with JM right now, but that's not to say that we won't do something in the future. We certainly could. So keep up to date. One thing, you guys, if you like, I'm not on social media anymore, and on YouTube, I'm not as actively posting here. So if you want to stay up to date with me and you want to follow what's going on, sign up for my email list. It is just go to theurbanfarmer.co and it'll pop up there. I don't send a lot of emails. Like right now, sometimes I'm sending one a month. I basically just tell people what they might find interesting. Here's some content that you might like. I'm not spamming people. I'll say things like, I'll let you know when my Microgreens course launches or there's any offers of anything. I'll do that, but I'm not spamming people. But my list is the best way to stay in touch with me, because I deleted Facebook. I haven't posted to Instagram in like 8 months. So I'm just not engaging in that. And life is so much better without social media. So I think that trend is going to continue. Having said that, with social media, I think, there's a time and a place. It certainly helped me in some ways, though I'm not sure Facebook did. I mean, I certainly bought a lot of Facebook ads when I first launched my first online course, and that seemed to have worked. But even the environment of that has changed a lot in the last year or so, or last couple of years. So anyways, I'm not posting on social media. So if you want to stay up to date with me, the best way to do it is just sign up for my list. And I'm not an aggressive email guy by any stretch of the imagination. So do that if you want to hear what's up with me. Shane is asking about Bermuda grass. Just go to the video I did on YouTube called Lawn to Farm. I lay it all out. Beth is asking, what can you share about hemp farming? I mean, I'm not hemp farming. I grow my own cannabis. And I actually, I grow it for smoke and I grow it for leaf. We juice the leaves as I manage it. I've got a great video coming out. When is that one coming out? With Clutch Hemp Co. That should be coming out from the field on August 23rd. And I'm hoping I can visit those guys again, because that was such an amazing operation. Besides from that, not much. I'm hoping to visit some other hemp farms. I've reached out to a bunch of people, so we'll see. Bob's asking, how's your business since you went to the private web? I miss your updates on your business. It's great. It's great. I love it. Life is so much easier. When I stopped disengaging on social media and stopped posting to YouTube as much, all that time went back to my family. Like 100% of that time went back to my family. So probably in retrospect, when I'm old and gray and I'm looking back on my life, I'll probably say that was the greatest decision I ever made, because I don't think anybody's on their deathbed going, oh, I wish I would have worked more hours. So that's been great. And I just, the problem for me with social media is just toxic for me. Maybe I don't have the personality for it, but I just got too wrapped up in arguing with people about BS. And who cares what some random person online thinks about you or thinks about an issue? Like, who cares? So, and I'm making fun of myself when I say that, because I spent so much time on that. And it was the same thing with the YouTube comments. Probably the biggest reason I disengaged the YouTube comments was just for myself, like entirely selfishly, is that I couldn't help but read those comments. And it really bothered me when people would troll me, say negative things, or even just ask really dumb questions that I'd answered hundreds of times before. And so it really bothered me. So partly, but at the same time, I want to be somewhat accessible to people who follow my stuff. And that's partly why I'm doing these YouTube live sessions. But it's also why I built fromthefield.farm, is because I want to vet people. Because the problem with YouTube comments and even social media in general is that when you're a person like me, who's, I'm a relatively public figure and I've built up a following over the years. Why should everybody have access to me? I only have so much time in a day, and I have a family too. And I'm a normal person that lives a life like many of you guys do. And so I need to value that and respect my family. And, going on social media and having bullshit conversations with people, or continuously answering questions for anybody who wants to ask them. It's just not possible. It's not possible to be a normal human being and do that kind of thing. You're just chasing your tail all the time. And so the long short of it, Bob, is it's been amazing. It's probably been the best business decision I've ever done, is because people who really wanted to follow me continued on from the field, and then that monetized that, giving me quite a bit of freedom to make better content, but also travel for it. So it's been awesome. So I wouldn't change it for the world. But I'm doing a lot of R&D now. Like, I'm doing a lot of product development for PaperPod Co. And that's mostly how I'm balancing my time. Is fromthefield.farm is essentially my day job. and I spend a certain amount of hours a week, not a ton, maybe 10 or so hours a week. If you don't count batches where I'm traveling for content, spend maybe that much time putting the content together and editing and posting it and all that. And then doing these Q&A sessions and podcasts. And then I spend maybe about that much time or a bit more developing tools and stuff that we're making for Paper Pot Co. And yeah, so it's been great. And then I'm gardening with my kid and having a lovely time with my family and just being home. So it's been great. How's the weather up there? It's amazing. We've had the best summer that I ever remember. It's just been lovely. It's not too hot. I think it's about 30 degrees Celsius right now, but we had rain last night, and it's so cool because like the Okanagan, it rains at night and not really during the day very often. So yeah, we've just had like the best growing season ever. Beth, can I give you a digital tour of my website? Yeah, sure. Let's do it right now. And you know what? You can actually do it now too, because what I've done on the site is I've made it so you can actually look at all the content. You just can't watch any of the videos unless you're a member. But let me just do it right now just for the sake of the conversation and just show you guys kind of what's up here. So you should be able to see my screen there. So here's the site. How it works is I've divided. So here's content discussion with forums. There's a private messaging feature and all that. So members talk to each other. The way the content is laid out is there's featured videos, subject videos, and audio. And so if you just go on the home page, you'll kind of see whatever's recent that I posted. So these were the videos from last week. So we had the Man's Organics Part 2. So that's divided up into 2 videos. And then sometimes what I'll do is I'll split up little subject videos of the featured videos. So like something where the guest said something really cool and valuable, I'll just splice that into like a 5-minute video or less. Just like, boom, there's that part. And then I have that all searched on the back end. So you can search, if you were to search something like tractor implements or organic or market garden, you'd find all these like little subject videos. So, but when you go on the homepage, you see all of that. And so if you click featured videos, this will be all the long form videos. So these are like, so each week I post a featured video, and then there'll be like each week it's a featured video plus a Q&A podcast and subject videos. Usually there's subject videos for each farm, but so here's all the here's all the featured videos I've done going all the way back to January, really. So there's quite a few in there right now. This is a farm design video I did. In the winter, I'm doing more stuff like this where I can just do from home. But right now, I've batched so much stuff from the traveling that I've done that I'm going to be streaming out farms. So you'll be seeing from the field, you'll be seeing videos that were filmed in the summer into the winter now because I've built so much content over the summer. I've been driving around. I got a Tesla, and it's been really sweet because I have supercharging free for a year. So I've been driving around the US. Like I've been through like 18 US states this summer alone. And I'm just like driving for free, but it's sweet because I can write it off. So Canada, you can write off kilometers at like 59 cents a kilometer. So it's like I'm driving an electric car that costs me nothing to drive, and I'm writing off the mileage. It's pretty cool. So that's been my like work vehicle to make all this content. Sometimes I fly to places. I've got more videos. This one was a real hit. Cohen Farm. This is a young man named Dakota Cohen up in Farintosh, Alberta. And this guy is just super, super talented. And I think he's going to be, in 10 years, he's going to be a superstar of regenerative farming. He's got this beautiful piece of land that he can do whatever he wants on. And he's got really cool parents, and he's just experimenting with regenerative ag. And so I've made a series of videos with him. I've got at least one more long one coming out. It's probably going to be 2 because I was there filming for 8 hours last week. So he's awesome. Yeah, and so these are just some of the farms that I visited. Vitruvian Farms, you guys saw a little snippet of that on YouTube not too long ago. So those are the featured videos, and then this is like some of the subject videos here. So these are all just like more snippets, shorter stuff. And so I visit some growers, so I'll make like half a dozen snippets with, because there's just so much good content. And that's the thing that's been really fun about this site, making videos for this site that's different than YouTube, is that I can just roll the camera, and I'm behind the camera pretty much 90% of the time. And I either have a videographer with me, or I'm shooting, or sometimes I have a videographer and I'm shooting a B camera, like I'm shooting B-roll live while he's shooting the feature, and then we mic them up, and I'm just behind the camera, and we're just asking deep questions and going really into the subject matter. And when you have that time to do that, you can explore a lot of things that maybe you could on YouTube, but the problem on YouTube is like short videos get more views. And to take a 3-hour interview with a farmer and then boil it down to 10 minutes is insanely difficult. And I just don't have the time in the day to do that. And I try to keep my operation and what I do relatively low overhead, is in that I do everything. I pretty much do everything. I have 2 camera guys, one from Arizona, one from Tennessee, that I use sometimes when I'm in the States. I'll fly them there, or I'll work with them in the state that they're in or whatever. But for the most part, it's just me doing everything. I do all the shooting, I'll do all the editing. And it's good that way because it keeps my overhead low. And one thing I've learned in this as being a content creator, and it was the same when I was a musician, is what happens with musicians is when you start to get some notoriety and you kind of climb the ladder a little bit, you need to have people around you. So, you're doing big gigs, you're selling out venues, then you got to hire a tour manager, or then you got to hire a general manager, then you got to hire a publicist, then you got to hire, like a social media manager. And basically what happens with people is they start bringing in more money because they're selling more records and they're selling more tickets to their shows, but then all that money's going to the people that they got to pay for. And when I got into doing what I'm doing now, I knew that going in. And so I've done everything I can to keep it lean. And I have 2 web people that do a lot of the back end stuff on From the Field. And if you have technical questions at From the Field, you'll most likely talk to them. But besides from that, I do everything. And it keeps it profitable for me, but it also keeps my life simple. And I know other content creators and friends of mine who have assistant for this, assistant for that, person for this, person for that. It's just like, with all the time, and I've kind of figured this out by reading a lot of Nassim Taleb as well, is with all the time you spend coordinating between all those assistants, you just end up eating up time. And so, I'm not in this to make billions of dollars, and I'd like to be successful. I'd like to be comfortable in my life, but at the end of the day, I want the lifestyle. I want to spend time with my family and create good content and move the needle forward in regenerative and sustainable agriculture, and but also stay sane and have fun doing it. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Sort of kind of sidetracked, but yeah, back to the site. I think you guys kind of got the gist of it. I can kind of show you a little bit more actually here. Just pull it back up. Yeah, so there's like subject videos and then audio. So what I do, like I'm recording this now as an audio. I'll trim the ends. This will also just be a straight up audio file that people can listen to. So I also make all the featured versions as podcasts as well. All the featured videos become podcasts. So people, when they're out in the field, can listen to it off their phone or whatever, play it on speakers. That all came from just members giving me suggestions. And so much of what I've done in here is with suggestions from the members. So it's been really cool. And then here's the forum. So what I'm doing now is I'm pre-posting. So there's the questions for next week. If people want to ask me, they're going to post in there. And then, here I'm already fielding questions for Jean Martin when I'm with him on the 22nd. And, just conversation between users, people asking each other questions, keeping the conversation going. And you know, I'm in here because, like, for me to post in here and answer questions is a delight. And honestly, it was a delight with YouTube too. It's just that it just gets exhausting when you get trolls that show up and just hate on you for whatever reason. And you know, it's so funny with being a content creator is like you get all kinds of people, and trolls are on, like, you know, there's all kinds of flavors. I get people that are super really religious, like really Christian people come at me. And I had one guy email me last week that was really upset that I used the word damn. And he's like, you know, you should really respect people. It's like, dude, if you can't deal with the fact that some people speak differently than you, that's your problem, not mine. So you get things like that. And then I get super, so that's maybe what I would consider maybe the Christian conservative movement. And then I'd get people on the far left coming at me, like social justice warriors coming at me, telling me that I'm politically incorrect for saying this or that. And it's just like, I just don't care. I am who I am. And if you can't handle it, then don't watch. You know, it's your problem, not mine. And so that's kind of how I feel about that. If you know, I know I swear a little bit sometimes. I'm trying to be better about that. But but you know, we swear around our daughter too, and not that we swear a lot, but it's like, I don't want my kid to grow up totally triggered by hearing somebody else in the real world who has a dirty mouth. It's like, that's the real world. You're going to encounter people that you don't agree with and don't like what they say from time to time. And if you can't handle it, you're gonna have a tough time. So anyways, back to some more questions here. Yeah, we did that with Beth. No question, but booked up for later in the year, an Airbnb. Looks like I've got a big urban farm behind it. Okay. That's cool. Not mine. I don't I don't have my place on Airbnb anymore. It was becoming a bit of a challenge. Do I have to log in from the field to get questions answered? Yes, or you just contact me the way we've done it in the past. But eventually I'm going to ask everybody to post in the forum, because then it's all in one place. What else have we got here? I'm trying to be an urban farmer too, and selling at my local farmers market. How do you get more buyers in the winter? Well, you got to have product. Have product in the winter when nobody else has it. That's one of the best things you can do as a farmer, is look for all the opportunities to have products that nobody else has at the times of year when they're just not available. That's like the best, easiest way to get a leg up over everybody. So that's that in a nutshell, I would say. Do you have a podcast? Bitzeo is saying, do you have a podcast or plans to have one at some point? I do the one from the field, and I don't know if I'm going to do more than that, like just make like a public podcast. I don't know. You know, the way the content stuff is going is like, the paywall is really, in my opinion, the best way for niche market content producers like myself to exist, because to just get out in the game, like, it's a numbers game, right? So, you know, if you're Casey Neistat, or you're even a guy like Wrangler Star Cody, who can make content that's really accessible to lots of people, and you can have 1 million or more subscribers, you can make money offering free content to people, and you can do quite well with that. I think I tried to do that, and I just don't think it was for me. Like, I would way rather deliver high quality content that's really in depth to people who are going to use it and be successful, than make viral videos for everybody to go, whoa, check out urban farming. Wow, that's cool. And then have like now this videos and stuff like that. Like, I'm just not interested in that. It's too much of a grind, you know. I don't follow these people anymore because I'm not on social media at all. But I remember when I would look at Facebook and you'd see those viral guys that make a video a day kind of thing. It's like, I do not want that lifestyle whatsoever. It is not conducive to a family. It is not conducive to balance in your life. And so forget that. But I still want to make content because I love making content and I love helping people. And I want to see people succeed at this. And I want to see agriculture become more sustainable and regenerative. But I want to do it on my terms. And so that's how I'm doing it. And so the paywall thing seems to be the best way to do that, at least most sustainably. Guys like Jean-Martin Fortier, he doesn't produce as much content as I do, but he's got a really skookum online course. And it's expensive because it's worth it, right? So there's that too. I've been part of 3 online courses. I built my Profitable Urban Farming course, which is like 4 years old now. I built the Microgreens course, and then I was part of the Past the Solar Greenhouse course with Rob Avis. And so I've got a few out there, and they're awesome. But you gotta know your stuff if you want to put out courses. It's one thing to be a content creator, but if you're gonna build courses, you really gotta know what you're talking about, because the BS meter is really high when people are spending $1,000 on a piece of content. So yeah, that's my thoughts there. Noel is asking, would love to get into microgreens due to having back surgery and not being able to work construction anymore, but they sell them in low-cost supermarkets for £1 for 75 grams in Northern Ireland. Yeah, that's cheap. I don't know what to say there. Like, all these things can't work everywhere. Microgreens can't work everywhere. Urban farming can't work everywhere. Market gardening can't work everywhere. Every place has its best sort of optimized context or best suited climate or environment to be in, whether that environment is a marketplace or a bioregion. Not all these things can work everywhere. And I've certainly have never said to anybody, microgreens will work anywhere. They will, in the sense that you can grow them anywhere, because you can grow in an indoor climate anywhere. But can you sell them anywhere? Definitely not. There's some places that the marketplace is just not the place for it. And it's possible that Northern Ireland is like that. I don't know. I've never been to Ireland, so I can't really speak to it. Jennifer, Nebraska, saying Nebraska has gone from extreme flooding and rain to extreme heat to cooler than normal. Man, I was in Nebraska not too long ago, and I've got an incredible video coming out next week at From the Fields. Yeah, I was in Nebraska. Where was that? June 16th, I was in Nebraska. I was in Martell at Robinette Farms. They're just south of Lincoln, and these guys are crushing it. The video is with Chloe Beagle, and she's awesome. Her and her husband are farming on, it's like, I think it's over 100 acres, but they had 10 acres of tractor-based vegetable production. And then they were doing some regenerative cattle grazing, just like custom grazing on all, like they bought this old soy and corn farm, and they basically were regenerating it. And it's really, really cool. So that video is coming out next Friday From the Field. And Chloe was just a wealth of knowledge. I met her, I think it was October or something like that last year. No, November. Maybe it was November last year at Rose Creek in Tennessee. And she came, I did a consulting session with Ben Hartman. We had like a group consulting session, 10 people. And then Ben and I would basically just brainstorm with each student to help, or each consultee to help them solve their problems. And Chloe came to that session. That's how I met her. But yeah, their farm is really, really cool. So I'm stoked for you guys to check that out. Just some comments on weather and all that. Oh, there's lots here. Oh, geez, computer's lagging a little bit. Oh, there's Daniel from Microherb. I haven't heard from him in a while. He's saying he used to be an urban farmer like Curtis, but closed my business and went back to doing software thing. But I'm still growing, still grow for my family. Yeah, man, you gotta do what's right for you, dude. You really got to do what's right for you. And sometimes the lifestyle of farming just isn't for everybody. And so I'm happy to hear that you are doing what's right for you, and you've identified that. So that's good, man. Can you guys still hear me? So I see some comments in here where people are like, Curtis, your mic dropped. Can you guys still hear me? Is it still sounding good? I know there's a little bit of a lag here with okay, yeah, we're all good. Yeah, some comments about apps. You know what's so funny with the apps, you guys? Like I'm not kidding you. I'm still to this day, I probably get one email a week from somebody who's got this great idea for an app for farming. And it's cool and all. It's just a competitive market. And you know, there's the app called Tend that's really probably got the most ground as far as a market gardening app that covers all the bases. I've seen their newer the new back end of it, and it looks pretty good. I talked to them a while ago and I said, how come you guys aren't doing e-commerce? Like, why don't you have like the bookkeeping and all that? And so I think they've integrated that into it now. So there's some cool stuff coming out there. But yeah, people email me all the time. They want me to be part of an app. I don't want to help build a software company. If I tried, I did it for 2 years and we ended up just tossing it out. And these are the risks you take as an entrepreneur. We worked on this for 2 years, and I was talking to my developer almost every single day and I was doing this while I was farming, and we ended up dropping it. So I don't want to be, the only thing that would entice me to be part of an app development or software development, if somebody had some serious money in the game and they were ready to either come at me with a really good offer of like, hey, we'll give you some equity or we'll pay you for consulting time. But I have no desire to help somebody build an app. I get so many questions about it, and everybody's trying to do the same thing. And there's already a really good one out there. So I don't want to touch it. It's this thing with like, everybody thinks technology is the best solution for everything. And it drives me crazy. It's like this startup attitude. And I have a lot of friends in technology here in Kelowna, because Kelowna is quite a tech hub of Canada. And I've got a number of friends that are CEOs of good tech companies and all that. And I get the culture, and I hang out with these people. The one thing that drives me crazy with it though is that it's this sort of startup fever where everybody thinks that they can build an app and sell it for $50 million in 2 years. And it's like, probably not. 99% no. Maybe you might be one of the 1% that really go at it and find the niche and find the perfect product that people will buy, but most people aren't doing that. And sometimes, like, if you want to really move the needle in farming, start a farm. Maybe building an app isn't the best thing. It's like, but maybe in Daniel's case, being a software developer is the best thing that he can do for himself. So everybody's got their own thing. What else have we got here? Drag Strip Farm saying, not sure if you remember Stephen Cornett's video, but I have the property that's 30 feet wide by half a mile long. What would you use greenhouse to span the whole 30 feet or smaller? Well, yeah, if you've got a property that's like up against the fence like this, I just built this fence a couple weeks ago. You can't put a greenhouse right up to a fence because it's going to shade things out. So it just depends on the property, how it's shaped. But I mean, look at my backyard. This area here, that's where the dirt is. That's where my previous high tunnel was, and that took up a good chunk of this backyard. I mean, I've got a big backyard. Like this backyard from the front of my house or the back of my house to where I am right against this fence here, like I'm right in the corner, I think is like 100 feet or so. So I could fit technically 3 30-foot wide high tunnels if I wanted to. And I've got, my past the solar greenhouse, and then I had another high tunnel here. So it just depends. It depends on how you want to lay it out. And that's really, it just depends on the lay of the land, really. Here's an interesting question from the Happy Gardener. Do you ever catch heat for your political views? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, but that's their problem, not mine. If you don't like my political views, I don't give a shit. It's like, yeah, I'm a libertarian. I'm philosophically, I really like the philosophical angle of anarchism or anarcho-capitalism, but I'm probably more practically a libertarian, because I know that we're not going to have anarcho-capitalism, at least in my lifetime. And so I like anybody in government who is talking about less government, less power to the state, less taxes, less regulation. That's where I'm at. I've come to those views just from doing business. And yeah, I've caught some heat, man. Like, I mean, no doubt. I've had people, like, I've had not only death threats in the form of YouTube comments and social media comments, which are whatever, because it's like there's no skin in the game, right? It's just like, it's just some idiot saying something. So I don't really, didn't freak me out. I didn't really care. But I've had people say really nasty things. I mean, it seems like on both extremes of the political side, you get people that are really nasty. I certainly see more of it on the far left now with the Antifa type folks that are just kicking the hell out of everybody who doesn't agree with them. And we have some Antifa people here in Kelowna, and I saw them. I was with my daughter downtown riding, and it was the gay pride stuff happening. And I saw Antifa standing there with signs with swear words on them. I won't say them, but like essentially Nazis go home and all that. It's like, where are these Nazis? Like, what are you talking about? There's no Nazis here. Everybody's here having fun. So we see a bit of that insanity. But yeah, I mean, I remember when I first kind of came out of the closet as a libertarian, or even said some things about Donald Trump. Like, you know, I'm not like a huge Trump supporter, but I do business in the US, and I can tell you it's been a lot better since Trump's been in, since Obama. And I've said some things that have offended some people so badly that these people were like supporters of mine here in Kelowna, and then they went out and called businesses that my farm sold to and tried to get them to boycott me. So like they literally went out of their way to do me harm because they didn't like some things that I've said. So yeah, I've caught some heat for it. Is that going to stop me from saying the things that I believe in? Hell no. Like, that's on you. I mean, people who do things like that are losers. And most people know that they're losers. Like even their family members and close friends know that they're losers. Because if you have that much energy to put into hating on somebody, you're losing in life. And that's one thing I learned, actually. It's a kind of a hard lesson I learned a while ago. It had nothing to do with politics, but I had some people screw me over really bad on my farm. Like I had some restaurants that I sold to really screw me over, like to the tune of $10,000. And I was so angry. I wasn't sleeping. Like I lost sleep for weeks. And I remember coming to the sort of rational conclusion that's like, if I'm spending time hating on these people, it's taking away from me moving the needle in my own life and pushing forward to succeed. Because to accomplish the things that I've done in my life and to do the things that I want to do, it requires me to be like fully on a positive mindset, high frequency, love vibration, being in that abundance mindset. As soon as I start veering into scarcity, productivity goes down. So how that comes back to the political thing is that if you're hating on people that much for things that they say, you're losing because you're not getting ahead and it's costing you. And so I kind of felt sorry for these people. Like one was an ex-girlfriend. One was a person who was like a huge supporter of my business years ago, who's like kind of a nutso social justice warrior. I think both of them are. And I just kind of felt sorry for them because like I look at them in their lives and they're not doing anything. Like they're not achieving anything. And they do this to other people. They hate on people. So it's like, you know, it's dust in the wind, man. It's like, I don't know if any of you guys listen to Dan Pena. He's kind of funny. He's been on London Rail a bunch. He always says, in the cosmos of time, it's a fart in the wind. I love that saying. So yeah, I've taken some heat, but it hasn't stopped me. And I'm not playing a political game. Like I'm not out to convince anybody of anything politically. I don't care what you're into, but I'm not going to hide the fact. And I'm not going to not speak about things that are important to me. So yeah, I had a video with Maxime Bernier, who's the only libertarian political guy in Canada. I interviewed him because I thought what he had to say was interesting. And I don't plan on making political content, but I'm going to say what I believe in from time to time. And if people can't handle it, then that's their problem. And if people don't want to watch my stuff as a result of it, that they can't look past the fact that some people have different views than them and they can't look past that, I don't really want those people around anyways, because that's lame. Like, I have friends, some of my best friends, I have diametrically opposite political views from, and we can still be friends. I have many farmers I've interviewed that totally don't share the same political views as me. I don't care. Are they running great farms or not? Yeah, if they're running great farms, I'm going to feature those people. So, because that's my lane. My lane is agriculture, and I'm going to stay in that lane. But I'm going to take the odd little exit here and there as I explore life and figure out what's true and what isn't, and all of that. So yeah. And then Daniel says, as somebody who's worked in business, I'm tired of startup fever as well. Yeah, I hear you, man. Off the Hook with Naya says, hey, Curtis, I'm fixing to get my first chickens. I rent, so not a lot of land. My crop will have to be stationary. Should I use straw, hay, or just let it go, let it go to dirt in their run? I'm not a chicken guy. I'm really not. I'm probably not the best to answer that question, because I might even have an opinion on that, but I don't think it's worth much, to be honest. So I'm going to let you ask that to somebody else who does chicken. Ask Justin Rhodes. He'll give you an answer on that. Justin's a buddy of mine. We talk. We text each other back and forth quite a bit. Will a BCS bust up galberry roots? I'm considering tilling or root raking. Just get rid of it. I don't know galberries, but BCS can bust up roots, but I don't know galberry roots. Have any of you guys seen that new BCS compost spreader? I just did a video with Ray Tyler last week that will be coming up in a little bit, not right away. We did it over the phone because I have one of my videographers that I work with lives in the community that Ray is in, and so I made an interesting video with Ray where I was kind of like talking on the phone, and then I had Morgan filming him, so it's kind of like I was there behind the camera but not. And so I've got a video with Ray coming out where he's showing that new BCS compost spreader. I'm curious what you guys think about it. I saw JM do a video about it. Kind of one thing I wonder with all that stuff is, like, I've been visiting a lot of tractor-based farms recently, and I just wonder if it's just better to have a tractor for some things like that, because it's like this can spread enough compost for one 100-foot bed, and that's really only about an inch. So it's like, if you've got room for a tractor, I just wonder if it just makes sense to have a tractor, especially for things like that. But we'll see. I'm going to check it out when I'm at JM's farm, so we'll check it out. And I'll see that video with Ray relatively soon. Matt asking about sorrel microgreens. Yeah, I don't do sorrel. Sucks. Sorrel's the worst microgreen to grow. It is so difficult, and in my opinion, not worth the time. It's just it's slow growing. It doesn't germinate that well. And it's just so finicky. But some people do it really well. I've seen. I don't go on Instagram anymore, but I used to follow farmers on there that were doing it really well. I'd be like, man, how do you do that? Even some of the greatest growers I've visited, like Brian Bates at Bear Creek Farm, who just crushes it with microgreens. Like, I don't even think he does sorrel. It's just too much of a pain in the butt. Michael Johnson about previous question about diatomaceous earth. I like diatomaceous earth. I didn't see your previous question. Where is it? I'm just backing up here. I can't seem to find it there, brother. But yeah, I like diatomaceous earth, especially for like cutworms and stuff like that. It seems to work well. What else have I used it for? Slugs. I've used it for slugs in the past. But I never really got into that stuff. Like when I was farming commercially, it never. I just kind of always found more passive ways to avoid that stuff. Either not growing those crops at that location, or not growing that crop at that time of year. I've always just kind of followed the path of least resistance. Stanley asking, are you planning to buy land to farm? I'm planning to buy land Whether I farm on it though is anybody's guess. I'm kind of yeah, I'm looking to have a sort of a hunker down homestead, totally off grid, totally out of civilization property. That's kind of my long-term plan. Get out of all the BS in the cities. I just, I've traveled so much in the last couple of years, you guys, and I've been to so many countries, and I've been in so many airports and seen so many thousands of people. And I used to freak out a lot about economics, geopolitical issues, environmental issues. None of that stuff freaks me out anymore. Not like the impending doom of all these people that are glued to their bloody smartphones. And I'm completely off my smartphone now. Like, I have a phone, but it's a tool for me. I'm not a tool for it. It's on airplane mode most of the time. I don't carry it on my body. I don't walk down the street looking at it. Like, I just look around at people. I go through airports. I mean, I see 10-month-old kids glued to their phones, and it is just terrifying to me. So I don't want my kids around that stuff, because I have a feeling that stuff will blow over. That I'm kind of optimistic that, there isn't going to be a zombie apocalypse with that stuff. I'm just so worried that, we're going to get these crazy socialist governments in that want to get everybody on universal basic income, and then everybody's just going to be a zombie who can't produce anything for themselves. And when the supply line stops, you're going to have a zombie apocalypse, because nobody knows how to do anything except look at a screen and touch buttons. And so I'm not optimistic about that whole thing, but at the same time, I don't lose any sleep over it. We've done everything we can in our lives to keep that stuff healthy in our lives and not detrimental to the development of our child. And yeah, I see it in her. She's smart. She knows the name of every plant in the garden, every single plant, every herb, every root vegetable, every fruit. She knows it all. She knows what's a ripe vegetable. She's like 2 years and 3 months old, and she's picking everything from the garden, pulling carrots, berries, peas, beans. Most kids don't even know that food comes from the soil. Like, it's insane. And so, anyways, I'm not trying to be self-righteous about that at all. I know everybody's got different things going on for themselves. Drag strip farm. Would you ever attempt pest control in an urban environment like they do at Man's Organics? I don't see why not. Yeah, I don't see why not. Like, the production's there. Having said that, to put the kind of resources into heat greenhouses like that to get that kind of production year round, I don't know if that would be worth it in an urban environment, unless you had a really big piece of land. Like that greenhouse at Man's is 1 acre. That's a 1 acre gutted connected greenhouse, fully heated. A lot of resources go into that. Could you do that in an urban environment? I don't see why not. But to move that much product, you're going to have to export it. Unless you're like, in this amazing location where you've got like 1 acre and you're in a city that's got a lot of demand. Anything's possible. So yeah, I would under the right circumstances. Just kind of look. I'm going to wrap it up pretty soon here, guys. We've almost been an hour here. I just see some combination between. So here's one where I'm tagged in. What's your opinion on, this is from Lorand. What's your opinion on indoor farming? Is it viable, or do you kind of need to make a mix of outdoor and indoor? Yeah, I mean, anything's possible. Whatever works. I get a lot of people that send me stuff like, shipping container farms, and here's these like high-tech hydroponic kits we're selling for $100,000, and you can grow this much lettuce and all that. And yeah, that stuff's cool, but like, how necessary is it? I had one guy, I won't say the name, but that just recently sent me, and I actually went back and forth with them in an email a little bit. I'm just like, here's some free advice. But they had this like shipping container, and I've seen a few of these different incarnations before that are about $100,000 to buy, and then it's like this inside shipping container, all LED lights, growing lettuce, and you can crank out production. But it's like, so to spend $100,000 to produce 1,000 heads of lettuce a week, you could spend 5 and produce that much lettuce for 8 months of the year in a cold climate. Why spend the 100? Like I don't get it with the whole high-tech urban farming thing. Like, I just don't get it. It's just people are getting way too obsessed with these like turnkey things. It's like, it's not that hard to farm, you guys. Guys like Ray Tyler down in Summer, Tennessee have online courses on how to grow lettuce in punishing deep south heat. It's totally doable. Get some shade cloth, get some mist irrigation, grow the right varieties, know when to plant, get a paper pot transplanter, boom, done. It's like, you don't have to spend $100,000 to grow in an inhospitable climate. However, if you want to do that in Dubai or the Sahara Desert or the Arctic Circle, maybe you do. Then maybe there's the right context there. But I'm not so sure it makes sense for most other people, because if you're in North America, there's arable land everywhere, and you don't need to buy land. I'm living testament of that. You can lease land, you can rent land, you can do many different things to get into farming. And I think the lifestyle is better. Personally, I can't imagine how boring it would be going into a shipping container with LED lights every day and just doing this monotonous planting harvesting work, like in LED lights. Like, man, let me ask you guys this. Have you ever spent a significant amount of time under LED lights? You feel weird. LED lights, there's something about them that are not human. And I'm telling you, I could not imagine working 40 hours a week in an LED light environment. I think I'd go nuts. So I wouldn't want to be in that kind of environment. I love being outside. Like, one of the best things about being a farmer is being in nature. Like, why? I mean, but again, I get it for the Arctic Circle. I get it for the Sahara Desert. But if you're anywhere in North America, like, you can grow in soil. We have tons of good soil. The US and Canada is an absolute breadbasket. Even in the Rocky Mountains, where there's very little soil, you can do it. You can grow. You can get compost and grow this stuff anywhere. So I'm not so sure about all that stuff. But do going back to your question, a mix, it just depends on your context. Indoor, outdoor, it just depends. Like, I mean, I've done a lot of indoor with my Pasta solar greenhouse there. Is that totally indoor? Not really, because I have natural light. So I like a mix personally, because it's nice to have that indoor stuff in the winter when there's not a lot of other production happening in the field, and then you got your field production in the summer. I love that balance as a farmer. Somebody's saying went to Justin's property. I got to visit Justin one of these times, because I do so much traveling now. I'm actually going to be down in Missouri. Missouri is one of the 5, I think there's like 5 US states I haven't been to. And Missouri is one of them. Alaska's another. I'm going to be down in Missouri, and I might maybe just drive down to see Justin. But I'm going to be at the Doug and Stacy Homesteader Conference, August 2nd, 2020. So that's going to be in Hannibal, Missouri. That's like one thing I have confirmed as a speaking date, because I took the year off speaking for 2019, but in 2020 I'll be down there. So I'll be down in that area. So if anybody knows Doug and Stacy, Doug's a good buddy of mine. We chat, we shoot the breeze quite a bit. Yeah. Thoughts on cryptocurrency? I think it's cool. I have no skin in that game. I get all kinds of people coming at me with like all kinds of ways to get rich quick. And it's like, I remember this episode of Seinfeld where he was like talking about all these friends. Oh, you gotta let your money do the work for you. And he's like, I'll make the money. All of the money can relax. I'll do the work. I kind of feel that way. Like, I've got lots of passive income streams on all of my content that I've built over the years, book, online courses, and things like this. And I'm happy with that. And do I want to get into cryptocurrency? Not really. No. I mean, I think in principle, it's an amazing thing. And I hope it's not a big CIA deep state plot. I hope it isn't that. Because I would love there to see cryptocurrency become a normal thing, and then governments can't control currency. That would be amazing. I had this crazy thing happen last year where the government of Canada, the CRA, the Canada Revenue Agency, emptied my bank account without my consent, without my permission, without any notice. They emptied my bank account. And it took me 5 weeks with some legal advice and accountants to get that money back. And it came back with no interest, no apology, no letter of recognition that they made the mistake. So that's what I hate about fiat money. I mean, well, that's one of many things that I hate about fiat money. It's fake money. You know, it's all just built on a lie or a promise. And I'd love to see there be some kind of cryptocurrency that gives a bit more power to the individual and takes that power back from the government, and where we can't just be flipped on and off. But maybe cryptocurrency could do that too. And so I don't know. That's the one thing that seems sketchy to me about totally digitized currencies. Thanks, John M. He's saying, what's up? You're always on point. Thanks, brother. Mule Deer, giant socialist governments plus Big Brother, big tech watching every move, plugged into every aspect of your life scares me. It's happening in China now with social credit system. Yeah, dude. That's why I'm off social media. My wife and I completely off social media. We don't engage any of that. I don't. You may have noticed I don't share a lot of my personal life on here. I'm going to keep it that way. My daughter's not going to be in videos anymore. I don't want her turning out to be a, self-obsessed, what's the word, narcissist. So yeah, we don't let her touch that stuff. Yeah, we're not engaged in it at all anymore. So yeah, I hear you. And the way it's going, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. I'm hoping that, I'm actually watching with quite interest. I'm watching what's going on with that Senate hearing. I listened to that one when they had the big tech people in there, and I am a free market guy, and I don't want the government getting involved in that. However, there are some sort of conservative thinkers out there that have made some good points about how social media companies like Facebook and YouTube and Google get special privileges because they're considered platforms and not publishing companies, but they're censoring people. And so they're acting like publishers, but they still get the benefits of being a platform. And so I don't know where I'm at. What do you guys think? Like, I think maybe that's not necessarily a regulation, but for the government to say, hey, if you're going to go and censor people that you don't like the opinions of, and there's obviously a bias favoring left-wing viewpoints, you've got Antifa all over Twitter, literally doxing people and spreading hate, and they're allowed to do it. And then you get somebody like Tommy Robinson, who's been erased from all social media, and the guy's just trying to stop child sex trafficking. Like, guy's a good guy, and he's been deleted. And so that's scary to me. And it is what it is. Earl's talking about the Neuralink. Yeah, I listened to that. I am I'm a fan of Elon Musk. I have a Tesla. I love what Elon Musk got going on. The Neuralink thing is, yeah, it's crazy. At the same time, if you've listened to a lot of his stuff, his points on it are pretty good in the sense that, and I would never hook my brain up to a computer ever. I would never. I'll be one of the last Luddites on this planet. I'll never do that. However, I see his point in that in order for people to keep up with AI, they need to reduce the friction between the keyboard and your thoughts, because there's a huge amount of friction there, right? And it slows things down. So I get the argument. I get what they're saying. I would just never hook up my my brain to a computer. Yeah, Michael Johnson. Yeah, talking about kids being way too dependent on tech. So here's the way I think about that, and I'm eternally an optimistic person, and the way I look at that is that, yeah, you're right. All these kids so dependent on the government, so dependent on technology and all this. However, if your kids aren't, they're going to have a huge advantage, because it's getting to the point now where I see some, I think they're younger than millennials. They're Gen, what are they called? iGen. They can't even have conversations. They have no social skills. So, one thing we're trying to do with our kid is really, if I could teach her one thing in life, which would be impossible, but just hypothetically for the sake of the argument, I would teach her how to be social, how to read people's body language, how to pick up on social cues, and how to communicate. That would be the main thing I want to make an impression on her, because all these people who might be able to do great things online have no social skills. And if you have good social skills, you can do anything in this world, because any team of any company would love to have you on board. So if you have good social skills, you can essentially do anything. You just fake it till you make it. If you can make it, if you can get into a team, like I have a friend who's a CEO of a technology company here in Kelowna, good friend of mine, has no technical, he doesn't know how to do any of the back end, none of it. He's the CEO of a tech company. It's because he knows how to manage a team. He's a visionary thinker. He understands things in concepts, and so he can take an idea and then like brainstorm it through. This should do this, this should do that. But then he has other people do all the back end. So this guy has good social skills, good leadership skills, and good business management skills. Zero technical. Doesn't do any back end stuff. Can't do WordPress, C++, any of that programmer language. Can't do any of it. But he has the skills to manage people. And so I think that's going to be going forward. If you can have people skills, you're going to be incredibly valuable going into the next 10 years, because everybody else is getting less social skills. And the big government, the big system would love us to not have any social capital, because then they can manage everything between us. Right. And so I'm going down the rabbit hole there. I don't need to carry on with that. Let's keep looking at some of the questions here, and then I'm going to wrap up in maybe 10 minutes. But it's still early here, and I don't have my doing these earlier has actually been better. I used to do these at like 5, but then it would push dinner time, and then I'd be getting in trouble because dinner would be ready, and then I'd be out here talking to you guys. So yeah. How do I choose the prices of produce? Put that into YouTube. Go into my YouTube channel and put in prices. And I've done quite a few videos talking about that. Using the search, you guys, like there's so many things. I have so much content on YouTube now. Like, what do I have? Over 700 videos. And I know I'm producing a lot less than I did a year ago, but like I have so much stuff out there, and I've addressed, I would say 95% of the questions I get, I have a YouTube video on. And then the rest, I either roll out into these, or I might put into future content. Brad, my sunflowers are 12 inches tall and my beets are not growing. Dude, I can't. Like, if I don't see it, I can't. It's impossible for me to answer these questions. What do you think of the no dig method like Charles does? I think it's cool. It's not for me, but I think it's great. Many things work. Do whatever works. Do whatever suits you. I did no dig for a number of years, and too much work. Not into it. I visited, how many has it been now? At least half a dozen tractor-based farms in the last couple months from the field. And I think more market gardeners need to use tractors. I don't think there's anything wrong with tillage on a vegetable base if you're doing it at the right time, and you're doing it at the right depth and in the right context. There's nothing wrong with tillage. If you want to work a lot and jam your fingers into really firm soil, do no-till. But I don't want to do that. I don't want to kill myself farming, and I don't want to see other farms getting killed farming either. So, I've watched a bit of Charles' stuff. I don't know him, but I know Richard was doing some of that no-till stuff on his farm, and in my opinion, it wasn't really great. Like, I like to have fluffy soil, and if you're gonna run a paper pot transplanter, or you're gonna hand transplant, and you want to get those plugs in fast, you need to have fluffy soil. Now, you can do that with shallow cultivation. You can do that with a power harrow. You don't have to do deep tillage. but it's just not for me. But whatever works, whatever blows your hair back, man, do. So like all the power to Charles. I think he's great. I think he's making great content, and he's inspiring people to do intensive gardening, and like that's awesome. So whatever works. Like on my homestead, I mean, I'm no till, but I have raised beds, right? I have these boxed. I just did in the back here. I did what I did in the front. I built 4 more. These are all about 25 feet long, 30 inches on the inside, 32, 36 on the outside, full dimensional lumber and stuff. So I'm doing no till, but I'm gardening. I'm not, and because of these raised beds, the soil is really, really soft. And I add 2 inches of compost every year, or I will. So yeah, no till is great in the context. Did I miss a super chat here? Where's this one? Oh, from Just Cook. Thanks for everything, Curtis. I have learned a ton from your videos and book. I garden now, but soon we'll have some land. Thanks again. Yeah, you're welcome, man. Thank you. What's this about clones? I live in Langley, BC. I have clones, not my fave. Rather do mothers. How are your mothers, Curtis? Mine are Violetta Kush. They're good. I start from seed, man. I don't do clones. I do everything from seed. So I've got, what have I got here? Mostly I've got sativa type stuff. I can't even, I forget the varieties. I've got like, I can't even think of any right now. Lemon skunk. I got Hawaiian snow. Yeah, I'm more of a sativa guy, but I do have some kush in there. Yeah, but I'm more of a sativa guy. But yeah, I just start from seed and then I just transplant up. We're only allowed to do 4 plants legally, so it's like to do a bunch of mothers, and then it's like, how many do I need? So, I mean, yeah, my neighbors are all are all growing too. So maybe we could get like a, you know what? There's an urban farming idea there. Legal. You could essentially, totally legally, without any regulation, maybe. Here's an idea for somebody. If you're in Canada, you could lease out people's backyards and do 4 plants per backyard and just manage those plants, because the plants are in their yard. They're technically theirs. And you just manage them and do the harvest and then share the harvest with them. You could technically do that according to the law. So yeah, there's an idea. Do you use normal or feminized? Yeah, I get feminized. Actually, I've got a video coming out. I've mentioned this before, Clutch Organics or Clutch Hemp Co. He talks about how they feminize in the video. It's really interesting. It's really, really interesting. And they control all their own genetics and stuff. So it's super cool. Hey, sweet pea. Maybe that's my sign to get out of here. What else have we got? No weight limit? No, I don't think so. Hemp farming though, man, I'm so excited about hemp farming, actually growing just for fiber and CBD. There's just seems to be so much potential in that market space. I'm trying to interview more farms. If anybody out there knows cool hemp farms doing like organic or regenerative type farming, let me know. And I want to visit those farms. Even if it's on a somewhat small scale too, I'm interested. But I'm interested particularly in the large scale. Like these guys at Clutch, they were harvesting these things with combines. It was large scale, and they're using water wheels to transplant. It's like all big farming stuff, but yeah, really, really cool stuff. Sadiva's best for being productive. That's right. That's absolutely right. Brad, I did mothers in the Kootenays up to 14 feet tall. These guys here, these guys will end up being like that tall because they're in the ground. And when you put plants in the ground, they get massive, like massive. They become trees. I had one year before it was legal. I was still growing a few plants here and there, but um, I had 2 plants in my high tunnel, the high tunnel that used to be here. Put them 6 feet apart, and Roger and I, you guys might have, Roger's been in a couple of my videos, old guy that lives down the street. We were doing this kind of pruning where we would prune off all the big fans, and then we'd take the big branches off, and then we'd pin them to the ground to basically open the plant up and kept opening it. This plant, I'm not kidding you, it was 12 feet tall and 14 feet wide. There was 2 of them. It was massive. We got like 4 pounds off 2 plants. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, I just grow for myself, guys. Like, and I'm not like a, yeah. I've actually had some haters come at me for talking about cannabis. I've had some super hardcore religious people come at me and say they're boycotting everything I'm doing now because I'm talking about the devil's lettuce and all this. And it's like, okay, guys, whatever. It's so funny. It's like, you can't not offend people today. It's either, and that's what's so funny about the whole social justice thing, is that it used to be like in the 90s, it used to be the Puritans used to be the really hardcore Christian right. And like, we used to kind of like make fun of that. Like the church lady, remember the church lady on Saturday Night Live, like Dana Carvey in the 90s? That was like the best skit ever. It's like, that used to be the Puritans that were like, anything you say would offend them and all that. And now that's on the left too. So there's still those people. But now there's all these like hardcore lefty social justice warriors who are offended by everything you say. It's like, they're the new Puritans. It's like, you can't not offend people anymore. And so I just don't care. If you're offended by something, then whatever, man. Oh, what's my shirt say? Oh yeah, okay, this is a funny one. I get these shirts online. So this one says, this is sort of my libertarian stuff. What does it say? I want gay couples to be able to protect their marijuana plants with guns. So it's like, yeah, man, whatever you're into. And I'm all about your right to bear arms. I live in a country that we don't have that freedom, but man, I appreciate that freedom. It's one of the things that I really admire about the U.S. is that they've held on to. Is that the First Amendment or the Second Amendment? I think it's the First Amendment, that they've held on to that. And man, if you guys lose that, that's not going to be good. The whole idea too is like, I think I have more trust in a decentralized way than a centralized way. So I have more trust in that I'd feel safer if more people had guns than only one group had guns. And that's kind of my view on it. I'm not a gun guy at all, but I like that idea. And it's why I go to some places in the States. Like I was in this town in Texas a long time ago. I forget what it's called, but apparently it's the safest place in the US, and everybody has like 2 or 3 guns and there's no crime. Whereas you go to a place like Chicago and they have all these strict gun laws and there's crime, because it's like, if you make guns illegal, that doesn't mean there won't be guns. It just means only the sketchy people will get guns. And then all the law abiding people, your good neighbor and the pastor next door or whatever, those people don't have guns, but the cartel will get guns. And this is like one of the things that's so sketchy. I go to Mexico a lot, and that's what it is down there. There's only 2 groups of people in Mexico that have guns: the government and the cartels. So it's like, it's dangerous. Whereas if there's an understanding that everybody has guns, people behave in a certain way. And I kind of like that. So kind of old school that way. Second Amendment. Yeah. Thanks, Daniel. Hey, Curtis, there is a gay rights group that believes in firearm. I believe it, man. And hey, my brother's gay. My brother-in-law's gay. I have one of my best friends is gay. I am like I'm super, super liberal culturally. Whatever you're into, man, whatever you're into. I just think where it's getting sketchy here in Canada is like the trans activists, which actually a lot of the LGB people are distancing themselves from, because now they're trying to impose, they're changing language laws here. They're forcing people to use pronouns that are made up and stuff, and it's crazy. It's insane. I'm a free speech absolutist, and that includes hate speech. There's rules for if you say there's a fire and there's not, and you endanger people, that's one thing. But I'm a free speech absolutist, and because I think the greatest disinfectant is sunlight and air, and I want to know if there are Nazi groups around. I want to know. I want to know who they are. I want to know where they are, and then I can choose to not support them. If we live in a world where there's no free speech, we don't know where anybody's at. Everybody's just the same, and so you can't put your money where your values are. And I want to put my money where my values are. And I don't like hate speech. I don't like people that say nasty things against individuals and who want to do harm to others. This is not my thing. Yeah, the trans in sports is crazy. Have you guys followed the news in Canada? We have this guy in Langley, BC, who's suing 12 different, I think they're all Vietnamese immigrant estheticians that didn't want to wax his balls. And so this guy was going to them saying, I want a bikini wax. And then he's like, no, these women are like, no, I'm not touching your balls. And he's suing them. So this is where it's getting crazy. It's like, this trans activism thing is actually working against the rights of women, particularly immigrant women, in that case. So it's insanity. It's bizarro world. So here's a farming question from Patrick. If you had 1 month before you were going to transplant Anova and you wanted to build soil in that bed, would you lay grass clippings on top of that bed to decompose it, or would you turn it in? No, I would lay down compost, like 2 inches of compost, and then I'd do landscape fabric with holes every 6 inches. I've got videos on how to do that, and then I'd transplant into that. So you're building soil, and then you're smothering weeds, and then you're getting a crop. That's what I would do. Anybody here from South Africa? Oh, Wickus. I think I remember you, or you had a question before. Well, in South Africa, they're trying to take our land and trying to take our guns. I know. Hey, here's a call out. If anybody is a farmer in South Africa and you're in the thick of that stuff, I want to talk to you, and I want to do, we'll do a Zoom session and we'll record it and put it on YouTube. I want to get the message out. I don't know if you guys know what's going on in South Africa, but it's insane. They've got a Marxist government that's going in and they're literally murdering farmers. And Lauren Southern did a really good documentary on it. The hell was it called? It was really good, but it's the real deal. And I've talked to people from South Africa before, and it's crazy. It sucks because the whole thing, like they did this played out. Was it in Zimbabwe where they did the same thing? A number like 20 or more years ago. I don't have all my facts straight with that, but they did that. And they killed and kicked out all the good farmers, and then everybody starved. So it's not a good one. It's not a good thing to do. Oh, here we go. Somebody's trying to Charles Walker, huge fan from New Zealand here, brother. Thanks for all your videos. Yeah, thanks, man. New Zealand is great. It's just a damn long flight. I'd love to go back there, but it's just such a long flight to go down there. Same with Europe. Like I get requests to go to Europe and New Zealand and Australia all the time, and it's just 16 hours on a plane is really tough. One here from Jason Noble. Hey Curtis, I'm in Australia growing 100 trays indoors, about to start. Can expand to 400 trays if I'm successful. I'm up against 15 a pound. I have to go 10 a pound. See how I do. You can do it, man. I mean, for the commodity microgreens, you can get your price down low. I think you can even get down to $8 a pound and still make money. For the sunflower, pea, wheatgrass, buckwheat, stuff like that, you can get the price low and still make money as long as your production's dialed. And that's like, you really just got to cut corners and really streamline and make things lean. You can make money at it. So comment here from Kirsch. Hey, Curtis is a professional hemp farm in Germany. It's organic. If you want, you can watch a YouTube video about it. Okay, cool. I'm going to just copy that and I'm going to search it right on. Going to Germany though is a little bit less appealing than going to somewhere in the States, though, to be honest. People from Mexico here. Yeah, all right, Charles. Have a good one, brother. It's probably late for you over there in New Zealand. State-sponsored farm murders in South Africa is fake news. I don't know about that. I've seen a lot of testimonies, man, and maybe they're all BS. But I've had a number of people reach out to me. I had a young guy reach out to me and said that he was on a farm that was getting taken away. He had family members that were killed. So I don't think it's fake news. I think CNN and MSNBC and all that stuff that basically tries to bury anything that goes against the leftist narrative is fake news. So I don't know if it's fake news, man. Oh no, you're right, Philip. They're not stopping at white farmers. You're right. No, they're killing. They're hurt. Well, here's the problem: is a lot of these white farmers, which are Afrikaners, Dutch heritage, 99% of their staff are black, and so they're going in and taking their farm, and they're hurting other people too. It isn't just white farmers. You're totally right, but the rule from the government, as far as I've seen it, and I've listened to talks from the prime minister. They're literally saying that they're letting people go and take the land back from white farmers, and so that's going to hurt everybody. It isn't just going to hurt white people, and it's not about race. It's about doing what's right, and it's not about race at all. And that's the sad thing about identity politics, is that if you play identity politics, everybody loses. If I can make 400 a cycle, I'll times it by 4 and try to make 669. That's a lot of production, man. That's a lot of production. Hey, if you guys are on From the Field, check out the video, the longer video I did with what's his name in Toronto? I'm gonna pull it up here. Jonah from he did that Microgreens operation. Amazing operation. These guys are cranking. His irrigation was totally well, I think it's automated now. Living Earth Farm. Yeah, those guys are crushing it. Really cool operation. What a shambles, saying definitely not fake news. The white farmer's house ends up gutted and they're back to cooking on the floor. One thing I had, and then Wickus weighing in here, come and tell my sister that the farm murders are fake. My brother-in-law was burned and shot in his driveway. Man, that's brutal. Wickus, if you want to come on my channel and talk about it, man, I would really like to help bring more light to this issue, because it's serious. But I had some people reach out to me from South Africa who wanted me to come and consult down there, and because they've been taking land back from white farmers for a long time. It's just scaled up now, but there's this issue where they go and repossess these farms that were just like, Africana farmers, and that have, long history, because agriculture is a European phenomenon. It started in Europe, and it's not that ingrained in the culture in African or even like deep South American cultures. Well, it is in different ways in South America, but it's different. So they had these farms in South Africa where they've kicked the white farmers off, kicked out all the people, and then they just give these farms back to, other South Africans. And I remember watching this one video about this. This guy sent me a link. He's like, check this out. This is one of the farms that we were trying to help out. So it's like they set up, they repossessed all the stuff on this farm, and then kicked the people out, gave it back to these other Africans. And there's these Africans on this farm with all this tractor equipment, all this high-tech post-harvesting infrastructure, and all this, and they're out in the field with pickaxes tilling the soil because they don't know how to run the infrastructure. They don't know how to manage the farm. So think about how insane that is. You have billions of dollars in capital in all of these operations that these people have built up over generations. And then you give it back to these other Africans who have no idea how to use it. So people are going to starve. It's insane. And it's happened. I think it was in Zimbabwe that it happened. Whatever the country is with Robert Mugabe, they did the same thing, and people starved. And then they invited farmers back. Please come back. Please come back. It's insane. So yeah, it's a serious issue, man. And I really worry for people down there. Lots of conversations here going on. And you guys see the I think it was the last Planet of the Apes movie. It was the one with Woody Harrelson where he was the bad guy, and then that one there was that one evil chimp that sold them out. And I thought that was a really, kind of circling back to this conversation about South Africa, but it was really interesting because I thought the whole message was kind of showing how political correctness, nobody wins. If you assume that by a person's skin color, they are a good or a bad person, you're lost because you're going to be deceived. And this is what's happening. This is literally what's happening. And it's insane. I remember, like, I'm an old school liberal. I'm like, I was really, really on the left, but also really liberal. And I remember, and still am liberal in many senses of the word, but I remember in the late 90s and early 2000s, and even into the mid 2000s, where liberals made fun of political correctness. It was a joke. We made fun of that stuff all the time. And now it's like, you watch, I don't know if you guys follow American politics. I do a little bit, almost just for the entertainment value, but I watched the Democrats and they all put up their hand to give free healthcare to illegal immigrants. It's like, how the hell is that going to happen? They're insane. So anyways, I'm hopeful that there's going to be no Democrats that are going to win in the U.S. because it's gone so crazy. The political correctness thing is working against everybody, including liberals, including minority groups. It's working against them because if you play identity politics to its full logical conclusion, everybody loses. Here's the sketchy thing about identity politics too. If you play identity politics all the way to the end, you end up at anti-Semitism it's terrible. It's terrible. I tried to make that point. So, hey, thanks for the super chat. Curtis Kruger sent me a $10 super chat with a smiley face. Thanks, brother. If you play it to its logical conclusion, you end up at anti-Semitism. So you want to go down the white privilege thing and you want to explore that. And then you end up at the whole conspiracy of Jews around the world. And it's insane. It's insane. I actually said that. I had a guy, I'll tell you guys about this one thing. I had a guy named Joseph Rosen interview me once for the Walrus magazine, and you can go and it's a mainstream Canadian magazine, and he was doing an article on like Canadian Trump supporters, and I said to him, I was like, look, I'm not a Trump supporter because I can't technically support Trump. I'm a Canadian, but I like the rhetoric in the sense that he's going against political correctness. I like that. And so anyways, I had this conversation with him about how if you play identity politics, like what I just said, you end up at anti-Semitism and then nobody wins. Everybody loses. And he spun that in the story to make me sound like an anti-Semite. And I thought it was the most intellectually dishonest and sleazy thing anybody, like he totally betrayed my trust because like I was trying to say to him, I was like, look, man, all these hardcore right-wingers who maybe some are anti-Semitic. I've never really met an anti-Semite in my adult life, but maybe there are some out there. But I said, like, you go down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole and you see, you end up at some anti-Semitic stuff, or maybe stuff that just really criticizes Israel, which I don't think is anti-Semitic. You can see how there's this conspiracy. Oh, it's this Jewish conspiracy. But it's not a conspiracy to say that all the top people in finance and Hollywood and maybe military industrial complex are Jewish people. It's not as much. It's just as much of a conspiracy to say that all the best basketball players in the NBA are black. It's like, that's the problem with identity politics, is if you want to go down that road and you want to play that game, you're going to have those difficult, awkward conversations that nobody really wants to have, and it sucks. And I see this in the farming community, and it is poison. I was watching a video. I wish I could pull. I'm not fast enough to pull this up. But if you guys go, if you really want to see how this identity politics stuff is killing the farming scene, the small farming scene, go and check out the last Young Farmers conference at Stone Barns. There was a guy named Mark Pittman up on stage, who was actually, as far as I can tell, a total liberal, total lefty. He got called out by this woman for being white privilege and basically saying, how are you going to reconcile for all this slavery and all that? And he's like, he basically just didn't respond, which good for him. He didn't pander, but he got lambasted by three other people that came up. And there was this one woman that got up and said, because it was obviously some awkward, it made the whole, because everybody's coming there to talk about farming. Everybody's there to talk about like how we can move the needle of regenerative, sustainable agriculture forward. And then you bring up this identity politics stuff, and now everybody's, nobody really wants to go there, because nobody wants to be the white guy saying anything against it, because then you get called a racist, right? And so this woman stood up and said, what you guys are feeling in the room right now, this awkwardness, get used to it. This is what has to happen. And it's just like, oh my goodness. It's terrible. It's dividing people. It's breaking everything up. We should be coming together and talking about how to move it forward, how to help farmers. And they're spending time talking about who's more privileged than the other. Drives me crazy. Sorry, guys. I have a tendency to get derailed on that kind of thing. Megan got a question here from Oaxaca. All right. Any comments on the Elliott Coleman style modular movable tunnels? I need to produce 200K of tomatoes every week and keep the soil healthy. I wonder if down in Mexico, if that might actually be a good idea. The problem with movable tunnels is you got to move them, right? It's kind of a hassle, and they are expensive. I wonder if Caterpillar tunnels can do it just as well at a fraction of the cost. Maybe they take a little bit more effort to move, but not that much more effort. But yeah, there's something there. I've never been to Oaxaca. I don't know the climate there very well, but you might be onto something there. I would say pursue that and look into that further and see what you, because one of the problems I've seen in Mexico is the nematodes in the soil, that it's just so hard to grow stuff in the ground. But maybe you could find a balance by rotation. But I don't know enough about the tropics to totally say, but I think you're onto something there. Digital Magda, what do you think of the immigration problems that the U.S. and Canada are facing? It's insane. I mean, it seems like to me I'm all for immigration in the sense that productive immigrants are what built these countries. Like people who wanted to leave, a shithole country where it's either a communist government or a fascist government and come here and build up and make it happen. I'm all for immigration. The problem is like the U.S. and Canada is if you're promising social benefits to everybody who just shows up, you end up like Sweden. And I was in Sweden last year, and it's crazy. There's idle hands. There's just dudes hanging around with nothing to do because they get everything paid for and they have no purpose in life, and so they get involved in crime. So I think immigration is great. I'm if I could wave my magic wand and have it my way, it'd be like open borders, but there's no social programs. So you can come here, anybody can come here, but you got to work your ass off and provide value. And that's how I think it should be. But I can't wave my magic wand, and I'm not a politician, nor do I want to be. But I think that's the problem with what's happening with the U.S. and Canada in particular, is that we're just saying, hey, come one, come all, and we'll take care of you. It's like, that's not how the country was founded. You don't build and create value by giving out handouts, and you don't get the best people either. So that's what I think on that. Trouble is our tax dollars man, we're really going down the rabbit hole on this one, you guys. Holy crap. Which is cool, but here's one thing I want to say. I don't want to alienate people to my work who don't like my political views. So like everybody's welcome here. You could be a social justice warrior on the far left, or you could be a super right-wing conservative on the Christian right, and you're all welcome here. And so I don't want people to hear me say things like, because I have gone down the rabbit hole with conspiracy theories, probably far deeper than most. I don't want people to think that just because I believe some things that you're not welcome here. So everybody's welcome. But at the same time, having said that, if you don't like what I say, that's on you, not on me. So if we can all agree that we can agree on some things and disagree on others, then it's all good. Then we're all welcome. But here's an interesting one. Trouble is our tax dollars are going to Israel and the Middle East hegemony agenda. Meanwhile, Flint doesn't have clean water. Totally agree, man. And you know what? I follow a lot of I guess call them mainstream conservatives. And I used to follow all the mainstream liberals. Like I used to watch the Young Turks all the time, and Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert and all this. I don't pay attention to any of those guys anymore because I just find them fake newsy as hell. But it's the one thing I just can't get down with the mainstream conservatives on is the whole Israel thing. I just don't get it. I have a friend here, multiple friends that are all in the same fairly large family that were Palestinians that were all basically booted out of their homes and had the shit kicked out of them by Israeli soldiers that were like 16 years old. And I've heard the real stories, and their land was in their family for years, and they just got it taken from them. So it's like, that's not cool. That's not cool. And I don't get the whole Israel thing. I don't get how, everybody on the left in the US is all freaking out about foreign intervention with Russia. Meanwhile, you have a group like AIPAC basically lobbying and telling the government what to do. So it's like, that's some, logical inconsistency there. Anyways. Jason, you helped me find meaning in life. Always loved plants, mostly dope growing. Just got out of jail in Australia selling cocaine. Now I'm trying to grow microgreens. Hey man, welcome back to the civilized world, and stay away from the devil's dandruff, as Robin Williams once put it. That's such a shitty drug, man. Such a shitty drug. I don't consider cannabis a drug. I think cannabis is and you know what? Coca in its purest form isn't a drug either, but cocaine is a shitty drug. It's like Rick James says, cocaine's a hell of a drug, man. It's a bad drug. I've seen that turn many people into really, really bad people. So good for you, Jason. Stay on the right track, man, and keep it legal, dude. And yeah, grow microgreens. If you got a passion for growing plants, grow microgreens. Our greatest ally. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. Cannabis is like basil, actually. It is like basil. The way you can manage it and the way it splinters off, it is like basil. I think I let mine go too long where I don't want to top them. But my buddy Roger, he, after like 2 or 3 nodes, he tops it, and then he does the whole bushing out thing. I didn't do that. I've just got these trees basically that are just like a big Christmas tree, and I'm fine with it. I don't want to have to manage them too much either. So yeah. Patrick weighing in on the South Africa thing. I think it's about race in South Africa from the government standpoint. The government is seeking revenge on white farmers, but will hurt them all. Yeah, totally. The problem is that they're also hurting black farmers who are part of those white farmers, like part of those white farmers' farms. That's the problem. Well, the problem is the injustice of taking people's land. Like, unfortunately, we can't undo history. It's the same thing here in Canada. Like the land was taken from the First Nations a long time ago, and are we going to give it back? I don't know. I mean, it's so complicated, and yeah. What do I fertilize with? Are we talking cannabis? Just compost, man. I don't fertilize. Well, that's not true. I put in my Sustain when I planted those, I put in that sustain. I think I did the 4-6-4 on those ones. And then just like these beds are all filled with thick compost. Like I've got at least 8 inches of new fresh compost and then soil. So just that, yeah, I'm just a purist that way. Like I don't like the jacked up smoke that's all fertilized and stuff. I'm like organic through and through. So I'm that's just where I'm at, what I believe in, and I want to be a steward of the earth, and I want to grow healthy stuff, and I don't want to breathe in chemicals. So yeah. Are you going to use wood chips, hugels, or swales or anything? Nah. Hugel culture, I just don't quite get that whole thing. It seems like so much work. But it's a good idea in that you're burying the wood underground. That seems like a good idea. I think, yeah, maybe I will experiment with that. I would love to find a piece of land that was on some slope. I like dynamic land. I love, like down at Roebuck Farm in New Zealand. I love the way his farm is laid out, and there's like so many different dimensions to it. That's the kind of land I want. I would never want to be on flat land. So I think I could play with that. I'd love to get like a little mini excavator out there and just like rip stuff up and try stuff. So yeah. Okay, guys, I hear my daughter crying, and I think my wife probably needs a break. So I'm going to peace out. This has been long. This has been almost 2 hours. So thank you all so much for joining me. And we'll be back again next week. That's August 1st. We'll be back then, doing it then, but we won't be live on the 8th, but then we'll be back on the 15th. We'll be back on the 27th or the 22nd with JM at either Le Ferme du Temps or his home farm. I'm not exactly sure. Or we might actually do it from my Airbnb in Montreal, because me and JM are going to go out for some beers in Montreal, my old stomping grounds. So we'll see. But then, basically after that, every Thursday, I'm just going to keep doing this because it seems to work, because I'm stacking a function, I'm publishing the podcast, and I'm talking to you guys. And I appreciate the support, and I appreciate the kind words and the conversation. And yeah, keep crushing it. Keep positive. Keep in abundance. Much love. We'll see you later.